In the age when Hutts ruled criminal syndicates and shadow empires, when their names were spoken in back alleys rather than in Jedi archives, there was one among them who chose another path. His name was Beldorion, and for a time, the galaxy forgot that he ever existed. Yet, his life is one of the strangest and the most tragic in all of Legends, because it proves something that the Jedi never wanted to admit. Even a creature born for hunger can hear the call of the Force. Long before the fall of the Republic, the Jedi discovered something they had never seen before: a young, Force-sensitive Hutt. Hutts already lived long lives, some for centuries, and combined with the Force, such a being might one day become unstoppable. Yet the Order did not turn him away. They brought him to Coruscant, to the Temple, to the heart of the light. There, he was trained alongside other initiates. He learned to quiet his mind and silence the impulses that every Hutt is born with. Others denied ambition. He denied appetite. Others overcame anger. He overcame greed. To the Jedi Masters, he was an experiment in discipline. To Beldorion, he was proving that he was more than what his species had been known for. He saw masters like Yoda walking the halls, and he learned that resisting the dark side was a long game. That mattered to him, because Beldorion knew he would outlive almost every Jedi he trained beside. That awareness shaped him when he finally forged his lightsaber. Most Jedi choose blue or green, but Beldorion chose purple. He picked it because he recognized something about himself that other Jedi were afraid to admit. Purple is the space between blue and red, between peace and passion. Beldorion knew he had darker, latent instincts. Instead of pretending those impulses were not there, he acknowledged them. The weapon became a confession. I have darkness in me, and I will master it. And for more than a century, he did. Beldorion served missions for the High Council. He traveled to distant, dark worlds like Aphel and Yanebeth to sharpen his senses, places the Jedi sent those they believed could handle something more intense. For decade after decade, he was proof that even a being born to overindulge could live by the code. Until the Council sent him to a world by the name of Nam Chorios. Nam Chorios was not an important planet. It was a quiet, storm-dark world at the edge of galactic concern. Yet there were disturbances in the Force there, and the Order needed to know why. So they sent 2 Jedi Knights, Beldorion and a fellow Jedi by the name of Tselda. This is where the story turns from history to tragedy. Beneath its quiet surface ran currents of power, focused through a strange, living crystal known as the Tsil. These stones didn't simply respond to the Force, they amplified it. They made every sensation brighter, every impulse louder. To most Jedi, that was dangerous. To a Hutt born already attuned to wanting more, it was intoxicating. The Tsil stones did not tempt him with pleasure or wealth. They tempted him with power. Real, immediate, living power. Power that did not have to be granted to him by the High Council or bound by the Code. Power that could fuel a Hutt body for centuries. Power that could make him not just the only Hutt Jedi in galactic history, but perhaps the greatest Hutt who ever lived. That was the thought that pushed him over the edge. He did not stumble into the dark side. He chose it. He chose to embrace the part of him that he had disciplined for over 100 years. And when he finally turned on his companion, Tselda, it was a declaration. In a crystal-lit duel, Beldorion unleashed the power he had always kept caged, and Tselda fell. When she fell, the last tether to the Jedi Order that Beldorion had snapped. From that day, Nam Chorios had a king. Beldorion reinvented himself, as Darksiders often do. He no longer called himself Knight. He took titles, Beldorion the Splendid and Beldorion of the Ruby Eyes. He reshaped his Hutt body through the Force, refusing to become a sluggish, overgrown slug. He remained muscular and powerful, a warlike Hutt of legend. His power, honed over centuries of isolated practice, became terrifying. He mastered hints of Form VII, Juyo, the same ferocious style used by Darth Maul. He could generate force storms, a tier of power that even some Sith lords never reach, and could inflict agonizing pain on his servants with a mere thought. All the while, the galaxy moved on. The Clone Wars came and went. Order 66 burned through the Jedi like fire through dry grass, but no one came for Beldorion. He had vanished from the galactic stage long before, burying himself on a backwater planet. He survived what so many greater Jedi did not, because he was forgotten. This is the part that makes him so fascinating. Beldorion lived as a Jedi for more than a century, but he lived as a Dark Jedi tyrant for nearly 4. But this is also where he would encounter his demise. Nam Chorios was home to a species of parasitic insect-like beings known as Drox. One of these Drox, a mutated and cunning creature named Zim, was once presented to Beldorion as a meal. Instead of eating it, Beldorion formed a partnership. Zim offered to keep the Hutt strong and youthful in exchange for access to the planet's Tsil stones. Beldorion accepted. He was a Hutt. He intended to rule for centuries. But Zim was not serving him. It was feeding on him, quietly, patiently, for decades, then for centuries. It siphoned the Hutt's force energy to fuel its own plans. So we have the perfect dark side irony. A being who fell because he wanted to consume power was now slowly being consumed himself. The Hutt, who had once used the Force to build a muscular body, became slow and grotesquely bloated, his connection to the Force a leaking vessel. By the time the New Republic era rolled around, 13 years after the Battle of Yavin, Beldorion was still there, drained but not harmless. Then the planet received an unexpected visitor, Leia Organa Solo. She was not there for him, but for Zim's larger plot. In coming there, however, she walked into the domain of a creature from another era. Beldorion captured Leia, of course. He wanted to boast. In his mind, he had outlasted the Jedi, outlived the Purge, and he remained. He spoke to Leia of the past, of ancient masters, and of his choice to fall. This is where his philosophy becomes clear. He did not believe the dark side corrupted him. He believed it completed him. Leia, however, was not there to be impressed. She recovered her lightsaber and confronted the Hutt. And now we finally see Beldorion fight. Even in his drained state, he was a monster. He swung his lightsaber with such force it could nearly shatter a human's wrists. He used Juyo's unpredictable maneuvers to keep her guessing. But it was not his prime any longer. This is the tragedy. Leia, still growing in her power, outmaneuvered him. She won not because she was the better swordsman, but because he had spent centuries in sloth and slow starvation from the Force. The power he had once consumed had now been consumed from him. In the end, Leia bisected him, a clean, decisive kill, the only known Hutt Jedi cut down on a forgotten world. Before Beldorion died, he said this, "I may be a lazy old slug now, but I am Beldorion still." It is a defiant final line. He knew what he had been, what he could have been, and that his potential had never been fully realized. And that is why the story works so well, because it is not just about a Hutt Jedi who fell. It is about what happens when a being with a naturally dark-aligned temperament tries to live in the light, succeeds for a very long time, and is finally given a taste of what unlimited power feels like. It is about how the dark side will wait for centuries if it has to. It is about how hunger, when given power, does not stop. Beldorion is not just a strange trivia entry. He is one of the longest-lived, highest-potential Dark Jedi in Legends. He survived Order 66 without hiding and openly ruled a world. He reshaped his body with the Force, summoned storms, and bent minds. He did it all as a member of a species that should never have been able to do any of it, which raises the best question to end on. If Beldorion had not been sent to Nam Chorios, if he had not been drained by Zim, if he had been found instead by someone like Sidious, who prized potential above all, would he have become the greatest weapon the Sith had ever shaped? Or would even the Sith have feared a Hutt whose appetite finally had the Force to match? Thank you so much for joining me in the archives here today, and as always, may the Force be with you.